Love to me means kindness, being gentle, concerned, loving, love and loving. But there's no anger in love. Anger is energy. When used wisely, the anger will disappear and you will be left with something positive.
Hello and welcome to the Love Launch Podcast. I'm Joey Chandler, and this is where we talk to experts, entrepreneurs, and entertainers about what love means to them and how we can have more of it in the world. And today, I am talking with someone who, well, let me just say, I'm just going to read her bio, just this one line from her bio. And this is why I was like, I need to have her on. Joyce and her husband were married on June 3rd, 1967. They have been together more than 64 years. When they met, when they were both 13, they have 2 grown sons, 8 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. And she's the author of 10 books and a professional proofreader. And her mission is to write books that inspire people on their journey to make the world a better place. If that is not a bio of someone that you want to have on a podcast talking about love, I do not know what is. Miss Joyce Fields, thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate you taking the time out of clearly a very busy life.
Thank you for having me, Joey. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh man, I just have to ask, like 64 years, that is a tour de force. Tell me about that. Like, I don't even know how to ask. There's so much there.
Okay. Well, I have written 10 books, and one of them is entitled "The Best Way to Keep a Man is to Let Him Go," among other things. And that I wrote that book. My late mother-in-law, told me that. She said those words to me when I was 15 years old. I didn't write the book until I was in my 60s. That's how long it stayed in my head.
Wow.
And so I just thought it was God-given because it stayed in my head for that long. And then I decided to add, among other things, to the title. The best way to keep a man is to let him go, parenthetically, among other things.
Yes. And are there any among other things that you could share with us?
Yeah. One of them is look good most of the time. You know, if you got a shabby old raggedy looking house coat and you shuffling around in that, don't do that. I look good for me as well as for my man. I like to look good. So don't have these little shabby looking house coats and crummy looking nightgowns and, sex yourself up, So, but not sex yourself up. It's not so much about sex. It's about women like to look glamorous. But then we should look glamorous most of the time, I think. I like to look glamorous. I mean, even if I just got on, this is just a sweater and stretch pants, but I think I look neat,
Absolutely.
And I got earrings on, I got my makeup on. So I like to look at me and be pleased with what I see as well. So my husband just gets the byproduct.
He gets the byproduct. So
Yeah.
you're looking good for you, and
Yes.
he gets the byproduct.
That's right.
Interesting. And I'm curious, as obviously I'm on the guy's side, did your husband write a book on a corresponding book, or did he contribute in any way?
No, he didn't contribute to this one. He did contribute to another one that I wrote.
Okay.
So that one is called Line of Serenity. And it's a memoir. It goes from 1944, the year that I was born, to 1977, the year that our mother passed on. So he wrote like I said, we have been together since we were 13. So he adored my parents. And my brother, who passed on in 2013, was his best friend. They were my brother met him before I met him. So it's I look at him sometimes and I just wonder, I say, my God, I've been with this man for 65 years and I'm 78. I mean, that's over half my life.
Wow. Wow. So your families are tight. Like you have a lot of connection.
Yeah, he wrote the first 20 pages or so, and the book is called Line of Serenity. And like I said, he adored my parents, and my brother was his best friend. And the first 20 pages or so, he describes what he sees as this line of serenity in all of us. I had finished the manuscript in 1997, and I wanted to capture the way that our parents raised us. I'm the oldest of 7. And they raised us with nothing but love and attention and affection. And there was never any anger or hostility or anything in our family. And when my mother passed on, I was 33 years old. And I didn't even realize, Joey, that I had never, ever seen her out of control angry. Never in my life.
Wow.
I know. It
Yeah.
blew me away.
I have a 14-year-old, and I always wanted to be the dad who was not out of control, or who was always in control and never never got angry. I didn't do that very well.
I understand that. And then my father too. There were 9 people in our house, 7 kids, 2 adults, and a Doberman puppy. My sister was brought home from her birth at the hospital to a Doberman puppy. She loves dogs to this day. And there was never any, there's a chapter in the book called The Calm. That's what I remember the most about our house. It was always calm. There was never any hollering and screaming. Kids playing is one thing, but kids howling and screaming and fussing and arguing and fighting, that did not happen in our home.
Oh, interesting. I'd love to read that. And you and I are both from Detroit. Is it your memoir must be based in Detroit then?
Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with what was called Black Bottom, Hastings and Ferries, where I was born, on a street called Ferry Street near Hastings. And Hastings was one hot street. Oh my God. They had everything on Hastings: barber shops, beauty shops, fish markets, chicken, poultry, clothes, all kinds of stuff, cleaners, everything.
Oh, it'd be a great, it's just a journey just to talk about that.
Oh my God, that's why I wrote it, because I wanted to capture the way our parents raised us. And I also wanted to capture the fun times that we had, and I didn't want it to disappear when all of us were died, so.
This is a podcast, and so the people listening to this won't be able to see this, but there is a smile that people from Detroit get when you talk about Detroit.
Oh,
And
I
there's
love Detroit.
there's a smile, and maybe it's from other cities, but I know when I talk to someone who's actually from Detroit, and not necessarily suburbs, but like from Detroit, and when they talk about it, there's a love and a joy and a something that comes out, and I don't quite know how to describe it, but I can see it on your face, and I know I feel it.
Yeah, you feel it. It's what's inside comes out, but you feel it. There's a warmth about Detroit. I don't understand it myself, but we had such a wonderful time. So the book is called Line of Serenity, and it goes from 1944. It talks about wringer washers and ice boxes where you had to have the whole cake of ice in the bottom of the refrigerator. It talks about all of that stuff.
Oh, that'd be great. So I want to hear about, I know you're on a big mission. You have an endeavor that you're looking to create, and you're creating.
Yes.
But we talk about what love means to you and how we can have more of it. So I ask you, Miss Joyce, what does love mean to you?
Love to me means kindness, being gentle, concerned, loving, love and loving. But there's no anger in love, so I just put a quote on TikTok and other social media, and it says, anger is energy. When used wisely, the anger will disappear and you will be left with something positive. Anger is energy.
I want to take that in. Can you repeat that one more time?
Anger is energy. If used positively, if used wisely, you will be left with something positive, and the anger will be gone. Well, wait a minute, I have it here. Well, I added here. Anger is energy. If used wisely, the anger will disappear and you will be left with something positive. In other words, this is what I say on the video. In other words, when you get angry, clean the kitchen, reorganize the closet, reorganize the garage, clean the refrigerator, take everything out of the refrigerator, clean it, put everything back. The anger is gone, but you're left with something positive. Use that anger in a positive way. And that's what's wrong. A lot of people are acting on their anger and acting out their anger. They should never do that. Always stay calm and think.
And is there a place in your life where you've been able to put that to use, where you took some of your anger and channeled it wisely?
I do it all the time. I do it all the time. And it's not just anger, it's stress, it's aggravation, it's irritation, all of those things. If you're aggravated, do something positive. Use that energy for good.
I love it.
It's very simple. It's not difficult.
Yeah. It isn't amazing how the rules that work over time are the simple ones.
Very much so. Yeah, it is. And that's the way I live my life. I try to be as simple and easy as possible. Order and organization. I try to do a lot of things that make my life easier, smoother. And I just put on social media, there are 11 books on our website. I wrote 10, my sister wrote 1. And I just put on social media, these books will pave the road for you to have a smoother ride through life. And that is what these books do.
A smoother ride through life. That's great.
Yes. It ain't gonna make it easier, but it'll make it smoother because, these bumps in the road, those are all part of life. You just take it like it comes. Go with the flow. Don't try to fight it. That's what creates problems.
Yes. Oh, I'm just thinking of, like, in terms of like love, doing the work so that you can go with the flow. And
Yes.
and doing that work, because that takes the work. It's not just something that you just do. It takes a little practice, and
Yeah.
but doing that work, allowing you to be able to go with the flow, is really a statement of love for yourself, and then creates the space
That's where it starts.
for other people.
It starts with you. You got to have love for yourself before you can have love for anybody else.
Absolutely.
And that's what people don't seem to understand. People are striving for material things and cars, fancy houses, getting married. And most people get married for the wrong reasons. So they want to impress people. Your girlfriend, and it's usually women, the girlfriend had a big wedding. A man's going to be bigger. Man's going to be more fancy. And then they stay together for 6 months. And then they're going to talk and divorce. You got to, like I told my son, make love to her mind before you make love to her body. I told him that when he was 15. He's now 51, reversed.
I'm guessing your son has and your sons have a whole list of like Joyce's and wise words from mom.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I gave him a 5x7 picture, the picture of me on one side and words of advice on the other side. It's a double frame.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome.
And I laminated it so it'll last forever.
I actually just got done with an interview with a young photographer out of Phoenix who has become an elopement photographer. And he talks about how there's a bit of a shift and there's a more freedom now for people to have weddings that are smaller, just intimate, so they can really celebrate each other and then not put such a large financial burden on
You
themselves.
got to live after you get married. You spend all that money on a wedding and the relationship, the marriage doesn't last. You need to have that money in the bank or whatever. You need to invest or something. Don't spend all that money on a wedding. That's just for outward appearances. That doesn't count for anything. And you mentioned my golden rule challenge, Joe.
Yes.
So I think that if more people treated people the way they want to be treated, the golden rule states, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If more of us did that, and I actually try to live by the golden rule. I try to live my life by that. And I don't want to treat anybody in ways that I would not want to be treated myself. I don't care. Even in my family, there are people who I don't like the way that they are or the way that they behave, that kind of stuff. But I still show them love and respect. So there are a lot of people who have their love and respect tied up with only if you do what I want or what I think and all of that stuff, all this conditions. Conditional love doesn't work. It has to be love. And the golden rule, if we use it religiously, it would drastically reduce racism, sexism, homophobia, all of these isms, all of these horrors, just using the golden rule. Think, if you don't want somebody to do it to you, don't do it to them.
Why do you suppose the golden rule is so hard to follow? Because it's been around for a while.
Oh yeah, forever.
We've all known about it for a while, but it is a rule that seems to be harder to implement. It's easier said than done, let's just say.
Well, one of the things I state in the book, I have a book called The Limitless Golden Rule, 21 ways to use the golden rule in your life. And in there's a newsletter that lists, I think it's called the Christopher newsletter, and it lists all the world's major religions, and every last one of them has some semblance of the golden rule in them. So, and I asked the question in the book, if all the world's major religions have some semblance of the golden rule, why aren't the pastors, the priests, the clergy, the mullahs, all of these people that are religious leaders, so-called, why aren't they practically drowning us in the golden rule?
It's a good question.
I thought so too. And I don't understand it, but I just think I don't know, it's all about money. Well, they make more money when people, I don't even understand it. I think that if they would try to be more positive, I think that they would see that they would get more money than the negative route. So, but that's my mission, is to get more people to join this Golden Rule Challenge. Go to YouTube, the new Golden Rule Challenge, 10/25/2021. That's why I always date them when I put them on, so that I can tell by how old it is myself. So, but the new Golden Rule Challenge, 10/25/2021.
So one of the things that I found in talking to people about love and purpose is that sometimes when there's a should, or it's something that we think other people are telling us to do, we resist doing that.
Yes.
But when we see it as a benefit to ourselves, because we have that selfish side to us to a certain degree.
Yes.
And I'm interested in, you said there's 21 ways that following the golden rule will benefit my life.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's what I heard you say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually interested in hearing some of those, because if I was like, the golden rule is not just a good thing to do, but it's actually a good way for me to live my life because it will make my life better.
Mm-hmm.
That might be interesting. Can you share some of those 21 benefits?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. And this is going to be reversed, but this is the cover of the book. And I made the cover myself because I wanted the scroll effect to show ancient. A scroll is ancient. And then I wanted this to show a boomerang. What goes around comes around.
Mm-hmm.
The Limitless Golden Rule, 21 ways to use the golden rule in your life. And the 21 ways are at home, number 2, at work, number 3, at school, number 4, with your relatives, number 5, with your neighbors, number 6, at church, number 7, at the mall, number 8, at the grocery store, number 9, at the movie theater, number 10, at the library, number 11, at restaurants, number 12, at the gym, number 13, at the hair salon, number 14,
Can
at
you
the
wait? Can
doctor's
you
office.
can you go back to the how does the golden rule show up at a hair salon?
Okay, hair salon. At the hair salon. Hairstylists are at the mercy of their patrons. If the patron is late, that throws the stylist behind. In some cases, the late patron might be you. So be patient and understanding. If you were the stylist, what would you like your patrons to do? Use the golden rule. You can always reschedule.
Got it. So that's like treating that's basically like, if you want people to show up on time, you ought to show up on time.
That's right.
and
sometimes it can't be avoided sometimes. And you have to understand that.
Yeah. Yes. But what I love about that is, even as an inquiry, how can I bring the golden rule to this situation and explore it for myself? How could I bring this to my business? How can I bring the golden rule to my family, to my marriage, to my relationship? How can I bring those things? Like, I'm guessing, because a lot of people are dating and a lot of people are getting ghosted, I'm guessing the people who are ghosting are not following the golden rule.
Definitely not.
And all of that stuff. But as a more than the answer, I think the inquiry is really interesting. How can I bring the golden rule to this situation? Because that's probably going to tell you different answers and give you different experiences. And one thing that you said before we started talking is that the golden rule starts with us.
Yes, it does.
Can you talk
Everything
a little bit
starts with us. Everything starts with you as an individual. Everything. If you don't love yourself, you cannot love somebody else. And there are different reasons why you don't love yourself. You have to examine those reasons. Only you know the answers to those things. So if you have people in your life who are unkind, you need to separate yourself from that. That stuff is contagious. Negativity is contagious, just like positivity is contagious. Everything is contagious.
And especially the era that we're living in.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I would really want to just appreciate your time. I love having you on. I definitely want to have you back. But a couple of things that I do to sort of wrap up is, you're an author. And actually, I have to ask, you're a prolific author, 10 books. Writing has just been part of your journey in life. How did that come to be?
You know, Joey, I'm telling you, it's going to be hard to believe, but God has guided me. I was 5 years old. I remember this. We had a television. We had the TV. You know, I was born in 1944, so I was like, this is before 1950. And my mother used Tide washing powder. And like I said, I was no more than 5, maybe, I don't know. But at any rate, they would show Tide commercials on television. And at 5 years old, I wondered why they never showed colored women. That's what we were called back then, colored women using Tide. Mama used Tide. How come they don't ever show colored women using Tide? At 5, this is what I thought. So I have been interested in human relations and fairness and all of that all my life. And so, what was your question?
I was just wondering, you've been you're a prolific writer, and how is that just part of your journey in life?
I wanted to be a nurse when I was little, because I didn't think nurses got sick. That was why I wanted to be a nurse. That's the logic of a kid. So at any rate, I ended up being a stenographer. I used to watch Gail Storm's show. I don't know if you remember her. She was one an actress,
That's a little before me, I think.
and she was a secretary, and I wanted to be a secretary. So I went to the High School of Commerce in Detroit. All girls, just about all girls, with some boys in there too. And I took the stenography curriculum. And when I graduated from that curriculum, I went to Detroit Edison. I went on Friday and they told me to come in on Monday. I took all the tests, passed them with the highest scores possible because I went to commerce. And then came back. And so I wrote some articles that were published. I wrote 3 opinion editorials for the Detroit Free Press in 1997. All 3 of them, Joey, were published verbatim. They said they never heard of anybody whose editorials were published verbatim. So, but that was it. 3 of them, they published them verbatim. So then that was just telling me I could write. What I wrote could be published, or it was worthy of publication. So that's then where I wrote an article for a magazine in 1982, and then I wrote Light of Serenity in 1997. So I was writing. I had no idea that I was going to be writing a lot of other books. I didn't know, and so that was how I got into writing. I wrote Line of Serenity first, then Mother's Dozen, an easy recipe for raising great kids. Then The Best Way to Keep a Man is to Let Him Go. And that was in 2003, I wrote Mother's Dozen. In 2008, I wrote The Best Way to Keep a Man is to Let Him Go. In 2009, I wrote The Vision, telling kids that they can make the world a better place. In 2009, I also wrote Jet Black and Her 7 Friends. That's a fairy tale about a little Black girl who's being bullied. And she goes to sleep one night and is taken on this magical journey. You got to get the book to see what happens to her. She meets all these 7 people. So it was fantastic. Then in 2011, I wrote Dear Bully, a collection of poems about bullying. It just broke my heart that they coined a new word. I never heard of it, and it's the ugliest word I've ever heard in my life, and I love words. Bullycide. They coined that word to describe children who commit suicide as a result of bullying. I thought it was horrible. Then in 2013, I wrote My Simple Quotes to Live By. One of the quotes was chosen for a 2013 women's calendar. And that quote states, "It's better to die chasing a dream never caught than to die never having chased the dream." So I put that on social media to encourage people. Don't pay attention to these dream stompers. That's what I call them, dream stompers. They'll stomp all over your dreams and you'll be laying on your deathbed. That's why I say it's better to die chasing it and never catching it than it is to die never having chased it.
That's
So
a great
don't
line.
lay here on your deathbed wishing you had done this one. Anytime you can imagine yourself on your deathbed and you say, "Oh my God, I wish I had done this," then you should get busy doing those things. Then in 2014, I wrote A Breast Cancer Journey to Greater Joy, taking the fear and mystery out of a breast cancer diagnosis. And I wrote that book because I wanted to take the fear and mystery out of it. You got all these huge machines and all these complicated terms and all that. So I wanted to take the fear and mystery out of it. And that's what this book does. And then in 2015, I wrote The Golden Rule, The Limitless Golden Rule. And that's all the books.
That was beautiful. And I love how you'd feel there's the bit of a thread through them all about addressing painful subjects, helping them get down to, like you said, making things a little bit smoother.
Yes. Yes. I love quotes because they're so powerful. They say so much in so few words.
Absolutely. Well, how can people get in touch with you? We'll have all this in the show notes, but what's the best way for people to reach out to you and get your books and to join your Golden Rule Challenge?
The books are available at goodshortbooks.com as well as amazon.com. But on Amazon, you have to know the titles. If you go to Good Short Books, then you'll see all of the books and you can order from there as well. But that takes you straight to Amazon so you can place the order. And then you can send me an email, goodshortbooks@yahoo.com. So the website is goodshortbooks.com. The email is goodshortbooks@yahoo.com.
That's great. And are you on TikTok too? Is that
Yeah, I'm on TikTok. I just did an exercise video just showing 6 of the things that I do in the exercise routine. It got over 37, and it's still growing, over 37,000 views. It absolutely blew my mind. And I got so many comments, and compliments too. So yeah.
I believe
78
it.
years old doing exercises, and they're easy exercises, but effective.
I believe it. I believe it. Well, I want to thank you. This has been great. It's been, I love everything you're doing. The energy. I love the idea of applying the golden rule to yourself so they can apply it to other people. I think that's really profound. That's what I'm going to be taking away from this.
I think that one of the things that I say in a video is when we drive cars or vehicles, if everybody would let one person in when that's trying to get into traffic, do it safely, obviously, but let one person in. I don't care what color they are. I don't care what they're male, female, trans, whatever. Just let one person in. If everybody started doing that, then you would notice that people will start letting you in.
Absolutely. Well, I always like to ask my guests, is there something that you're taking away from this conversation? Because I want people to be thinking about what does love mean to all of us and how can we have more of it? And I'm curious, is there anything that came up for you in this conversation?
Your spirit. I love your spirit.
Oh, thank you.
It's really good to see people like you who have good spirits.
Oh, well, that makes me happy. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, your spirit is a good one. I get the vibes.
You get the vibe. It's that Detroit. It's those Detroit bones.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Well, I want to thank you. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see what I'll go join the challenge, and everybody, please go check out her YouTube channel, just everything. And if you have a chance to talk with Joyce, she's awesome. Like, I love your spirit too. I that. I just have to, you're like on more social media than I am. And you're probably more than a lot of people. And what I love what you're doing is you're just doing it. It doesn't sound like you're thinking, your thoughts are profound and deep, but you're not overthinking stuff. You're making it happen and you're taking action, which is beautiful.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I need all the encouragement I can get.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for listening to this podcast. This is the Love Launch Podcast. And as I say, always, when 2 people can fall in love, and especially given the chaos of the world, that is a triumph of the human spirit. And that's what we're trying to make happen here. And if this helps you in any way, please let us know. Please share. And yeah, go out and have an amazing day. And I will talk to you next time on the Love Launch Podcast. Bye.